Videos like this are made possible by viewers like you. New Age spirituality is full of divinely inspired ways to live, and they fly in the face of reason almost as often as they smack of melted brain conspiracy theories. So, in aid of demystifying some toxic behavior, let's look at 4 toxic habits common in New Age spirituality and pick them to pieces a little bit. Let's talk about this. Hello everyone, if you're new here, I'm Andy Fellows and I make videos on cult skepticism and making sense of life after New Age spirituality. If you're a former New Ager like me and you want to hear a more grounded, skeptical approach on New Age stuff, then why not subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. So 4 toxic New Age habits. These are things I used to do, and if you're a former New Ager, these are things that you might have also done at some point as well. And if you did used to do them, it's possible that you might cringe at some point during this video. And by the time we get to number 4 on this list, it's possible that you might fully cringe sweat. Fair warning on that, but stick it out to number 4, because who doesn't love a good cringe sweat? 1. Taking what resonates. This is a popular maxim in New Age circles. As a New Ager, you're kind of encouraged by other New Agers to sort of immerse yourself in all this kind of information, right? You're encouraged to sort of sponge it all up, dabble in all kinds of different spiritual traditions, listen to different teachers, read different books, and how you're encouraged to discern sense from nonsense is to take what resonates. It's a trope and it's a bad one. Straight out of the gate, the glaring problem with taking what resonates is that what resonates is just going to slip into and complement your pre-existing beliefs in a way that is so unexamined you might as well not be thinking at all. Inevitably, you end up parroting shit back at other New Agers and just feeding this endless loop of just superficial rubbish. The weird thing that happens with the take what resonates trope, though, is that everyone seems to resonate with the same stuff. The law of attraction, present moment awareness, we are the universe experiencing itself subjectively, chakras, crystals, astral projection, energy healing. It's like something about the New Age makes it so that as long as the person you're listening to speaks in a super soft voice and has like a crystal hanging around their neck, then it just bypasses your cognitive dissonance. So many New Agers I've known, myself included, just had absolutely no proclivity for critical thinking at all. Now that I've left it all behind, I'm still open-minded despite what people in my comments seem to think. But what I've done is I've set the bar higher for what I'm willing to accept as evidence for certain claims that are being made. I apply a little bit more skepticism when new ideas come to me, and if something doesn't stand up to scrutiny initially, then I'm comfortable setting the idea aside. You know, it's not the end of the world if I don't believe this thing that you also believe, despite what some members of cults will say about their beliefs. You know, it's not the end of the world if we don't all believe the same thing. Setting things aside and not taking them too seriously, I would say, is a huge improvement over just taking what resonates and living a deep as a puddle life of confirmation bias. 2. Avoiding the news. I don't think this one's like uniquely New Age. I know that Tim Ferriss talked about it in the 4-Hour Work Week. So there's sort of adjacent to the entrepreneurial world, if you like. This is something that is present in both. And it's not the only thing that's present in both, I have to say. But basically, not watching the news, not being aware of what's going on in the world around you by avoiding information from news outlets, not reading, watching the news, that kind of thing. It's a habit I picked up in the New Age, and I know I'm not the only one who did that. The idea is that if you need to know something, then someone's going to tell you it at some point. Like you'll find out if you really need to know something, which to some extent I guess kind of works. And if your mental health is the reason that you're not watching the news or reading the news or whatever, you need to take a step back from it for your mental health, then I get it. I've been there. And to be fair, things have been pretty stressful recently, what with, you know, everything. But like mental health aside, I feel like avoiding the news, even on like a national level, it kind of leans a little bit into toxic positivity. Also, can I just say how like cis-het white privilegey this is? Like the only people who can really afford to not watch the news full time or for an extended period of time really are gonna be cis-het white people, right? Like if you live in a country like Canada, the UK, America, Europe in general, you know, these kinds of countries, if you're a cis-het white person, cis-het white man notably, and rights are being eroded, they're probably not going to be yours. So not being aware of what's going on in the news is going to be, you know, a little bit more viable for you as a cis-het white person. But for everybody else, for us queers, for marginalized people in general, we need to know what's going on. We need to be aware of what's happening in the world, because, you know, rights do get eroded, rights do get questioned. And if we're not aware of what's happening, then our rights might be, and our safety even, might be being put into question, you know, and that's been happening recently in places like the US, in the UK, and Poland. If we're not aware of it, then there's nothing we can do, whether it's to protect ourselves against those changes or to try to make a difference in reversing those changes and making sure that everybody has the rights that, you know, cishet white people have. For New Agers, the avoidance of the news is like a systemic and institutional distrust thing, as far as I've been able to gauge, and that was the case for me. You know, conspiracy theories are part and parcel with the New Age. It's this whole, you know, they're just scaremongering and brainwashing, and they want to keep you in fear, that kind of stuff. Now, let's be fair. Fear sells, but this kind of nefarious mind control stuff is overstated, I think, and really it's just paranoid brain gunge. And also, the real world has enough comparable toxic chaos that spending your time, wasting your time on conspiracy theories, in my mind, is sort of tantamount to sticking your head in the sand. The news is still iffy at best though, and it's easy to get freaked out while reading it. Since coming out of the New Age, I've developed a whole new way of like reading the news and looking at these kinds of things. Let me share it with you in cool action movie style.
Don't take anything at face value. Look for the facts. Ignore any apparent assertions in the title. The title is just to make you click. Bear in mind that a lot of news outlets copy and paste press releases from corporations. If something sounds too good to be true, or particularly dire, you'll need to cross-reference. News outlets don't need to fact-check when they're quoting someone, and including quotes from other people fluffs up the piece. Most of the time, the actual facts or events in question can be communicated in a sentence or two, a paragraph max. Remember not to jump to conclusions or fall into slippery slope thinking. Things often seem worse than they are, and conspiracy theories aside, fear does sell. Fear keeps you hanging on for the next update, just like how the world's going to end if you don't like this video.
3. Being anti-science and scientifically illiterate. I used to be so anti-science, it hurts. Like, these words sincerely once passed my lips. Right, if evolution's real, how come we've still got monkeys? There's a narrative that runs strong among grifters in pseudoscience circles that they're being censored for questioning the mainstream paradigm. But in reality, when scientists are actually questioning people like this, what they're not doing is censoring them. What they're really doing is decrying bad science more often than not. Some of them have had TED Talks removed for just spewing garbage, and of course having their content pulled for being misinformation is worn as a sort of badge of honor for these people, and they go around playing this sort of martyr character, you know, fighting the system and fighting for free speech and the truth, all while they're legit poisoning people's minds with bullshit and making money off of it. And of course the average believer eats it up. This is exactly what happens in the New Age sort of circles as well. This was the case for me, and it's happening ever more so now during this ongoing health crisis. And yes, it's still ongoing despite how some people are acting and talking. It is still ongoing. If you already believe in like crystals and energy healing, and you sort of taken those ideas on without really questioning them too much, then jumping from there to illness and stuff caused by demons, it's not too much of a jump, I don't think. 4. Spiritual ego and thinking you have something to teach. Are you ready to cringe? If there's one thing that encapsulates, nay, epitomizes the New Age, it's this self-important, holier-than-thou, looking down the nose, messiah complex attitude of, I feel like I have something to teach you. A regular meditation practice and one reading of Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now seems to have some sort of effect on the brain where it makes people need to proselytize in this kind of I know better than you way. I can't help myself, I need to spread the good word. But in this case, the good word is like whatever the fuck your enlightened mind just made up of a morn. I say this having experienced this from the inside. I guess when you watch videos on YouTube of spiritual teachers giving a range of nebulous advice, it rubs off on you. Definitely rubbed off on me. Mooji, Eckhart Tolle, Ram Dass. Like, I was holding fucking satsang, doling out the wise words like I was God's gift. And I can't tell you how many times I've had people comment shit on my videos like, I hope you find your path, or some other banal advice that no one asked for in the YouTube comments, let's be fair. The thing that stands out to me is that what a lot of these people think they have to teach is based on their intuition, right? And their intuition, really, as far as I can tell, seems to be a mix of their own biases and assumptions, which sometimes turn out to be right. I was as bad as the next cunt when I was into all this stuff, to be fair. Like, it starts with this whole, you're the universe experiencing itself thing, and then rolls into we're divine beings and we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And, if you believe that, fine, to each their own. But in the new age, it really does snowball into this whole other really toxic thing of just like acting like you're fucking God's gift. Like, people get into this weird sort of spaced out faux serenity where they're like fucking crying at a tree one minute and then they turn around and like shut you down and lecture you the next. They'll talk like they've transcended their ego, but really they're getting a massive kick out of acting like they're better than everybody else. And again, I'm speaking from experience here. I was just as guilty of this as anybody else, and it's kind of sad. Thankfully, now that I've come out of it and arrived at atheism, I don't have this kind of need to make everybody think the same way as me anymore. Like, for me, there's no real value in going out there and just trying to shut people down and strip them of their faith or whatever. I know there are some atheists that do feel like that's the right thing to do, and as I say, to each their own. For me, that's not really it. As long as it's not hurting anybody, I'm whatever, I don't care. If an idea is hurting someone, if it is going to cause some trouble, then I'm going to have a few words to say on it. And, that's just my stance on this. But, if you're a former New Ager and you've sort of done these kinds of things too, let me know in the comments, and maybe share a little bit of insight for other people who are in the same sort of situation on how your life has improved, how things have changed since you've left some of these habits behind, and maybe what you do now instead. Anyway, I'm Andy Fellows, and I'm here pretty much every Thursday. Please subscribe to the channel, and please be kind and ask good questions, and I'll see you in the next one. I need it dry.
Don't take anything